Hello everybody. I would like to use a StatCrunch to solve some problem from your textbook. In order to do that, when you log in the Pearson site, you go to the StatCrunch and then you try to access the StatCrunch software. When you try to do that, it might take a little bit time, but eventually you would be able to open StatCrunch. And now we try to look at the data which already is in your book. So let me use that option. And let me try to go to chapter 2 of your textbook and try to solve one of the problem from that chapter. And the problem I am looking at is a problem 2.85 on page 71. Let me first access the data, and then I'm going to go to data for chapter 2, and name of that file is furniture. So I go down, and on the left side I see the link for that. So I'll try to access that data, and the data right now is available is in first column, and the heading of that column is days. One of the first thing I would like to do is try to create a histogram, and by going to the graphic option, going through the histogram, I would be able to start doing this. And now let me first select my columns, and then let me continue. It's asking me what you need to do. I need to get a frequency one. And my bin is like a class, very similar to class. My data is from 1 to 165. So I'm going to start bin from 0. And the length of each interval, let's make it like a 25. And now I'll try to look further and continue. Let me finish this by getting the graph. So it's going to go through and eventually it's calculating what is known as the frequency. And based on the frequency, I could go ahead and construct a histogram. Always I have an option to copy this or save this or print this. So usually I copy this, let's say to Microsoft Word. And if I open Microsoft Word, since I copy this, I should be able to get the graph in Microsoft Word. Now, obviously, I haven't finished the problem yet because for that one, it asks a little more than a histogram. It asks for frequency distribution and percentage distribution, and then it's asking for the histogram. Let me go back to StatCrunch and try to see if any other option would be available. So here I go to the StatCrunch and looking at the options I have, I guess summary table probably the start one would be my best. If I go to the frequency, um, I can select the columns I have, and I could ask for frequency and relative frequency and percentage of the total and calculate that. Now, when I do that, it's not precisely what I look for because on the left side you see the frequency, the number of days, and then frequency for each. So I still have to go and more or less manually I have to add them up for each class. Let's say from 0 to 20, I have to add all these numbers up. From 0 to 25, and from 25 to 50, I have to go and manually add them up. Now, let me do another problem. Let me this time go to chapter 3. And when I'm going to chapter 3, the problem I am interested in solving is 3.13 on page 111. And so let me try to go get the data. The name of that data set is chocolate chips, and right away I see it on the left side. Let me retrieve that data. And when I'm looking at it, it's given on the left side. For this problem, it's asking part A and part B, asking for different descriptive statistic, and then if the data is skewed and so on. So let me try to do this by going to summary tables and go to columns. So when I try to get the stat information for a particular column, which in this case it's the first column I have. When I go there, I select the variable or the column I have, and then the next one, it tells me what measure, statistical measure it's going to provide. By default, it's going to give me this information, which they are very useful, and basically I could just ask for calculating them. So when I go there, it's going to go and calculate all the information I'm interested in. It's going to tell me you have uh, 13 observation. The mean is 33.69. Variance is 184.23. Standard deviation is square root of variance, which is 13.57. And then median is 36. Range of the data is 47. And minimum is 7, maximum is 54. First quartile is 24. And my third quartile is 44. So again, I have option to copy this and take it to Microsoft Word and try to paste it there and analyze it further. So here it's a reasonable thing I have, reasonable information, reasonable statistical information I have, and I could answer the questions, most of them at least. I could go and plot the data using the 5-number summary and try to use that information to see if if there is decide about the shape of the distribution, the shape of the data, and also I could decide if there is any outlier. Generally speaking, right now I have the main information to answer that particular problem. Now let me go back to StatCrunch and try to do another problem. This time I am trying to do problem number from chapter 3 still. Uh, it's problem number 3.46. And the name of the data file is serials. And for that problem, we're looking for correlation coefficient. Unfortunately, StatCrunch doesn't give that particular one. So let me go and try to get the data from other sources. I already store data, download the data and store it in Excel. So I'm going to go and copy and paste that to StatCrunch. And let me just put it here uh, and copy this and paste it. Now, if you look, we are dealing with a relationship between calories and amount of sugar for a particular cereals. And so the very first thing I would like to do here is try to go through this and see if I can um, first plot the data. I'm looking for scatter plot. Uh, and here, if I say my x value is in, let's say, variable 7, and my y variable, let's say, is variable 6, and I could just go ahead and say what I need to do in terms of the format of my plot. Let me finish it up, and it's going to go through, and basically it comes up with scatter diagram. I could look at this and see kind of positive relationship exists here when increase the amount of the sugar, and then you can see that the calories increasing as well. And now let me do one more thing. Let me try to come up with correlation coefficient for this, and then I'll go to summary stat under the stat, and I look for correlation. Now, again, my variable are V6 and V7. I have stored it in V6 and V7, and I could go ahead and say, give me all the information possible. I don't need this one at this time. Let me just get with the correlation of the two variables I have. It's going to go through and tells me based on the correlation coefficient between amount of sugar and calorie is 0.839, 0.84. It's relatively high, and this correlation, again, I could go to and copy it to Microsoft Word. And the correlation is relatively high. It's a positive correlation, and it's 0.839, which is roughly 8.84. And so finding correlation coefficient is not, it's very time consuming, but by using the StatCrunch or other software, very easily you could find out, um, and it's very fast. Thank you for watching. If you have any question, please let me know.